Thank you for that kind introduction. And thank you all for joining us today, or whether you're watching this on a recording. I just want to appreciate all of you for taking such an active interest in your health. That's one thing that I think we've all learned, and you would agree with this, that our health is really in our hands, and it's our personal responsibility. And the healthcare system is not there to actually guide you to a healthy lifestyle, but you all have taken the initiative to learn the foundations of a healthy lifestyle. And I want to appreciate the leadership for this conference and bringing such valuable information to you. Today, we're going to just take probably the next hour and 15 minutes or so for a presentation. And then, I'll leave 30 to 45 minutes for questions and answers, because I really enjoy that part of it. Just as a brief background as we get to know each other, I started my health journey learning about the power of lifestyle medicine and plant-based nutrition more than 20 years ago, when I encountered a patient that said to me, "Dr. Stoll, can't you help me? I'm falling apart." It's something that we all hear all the time today, that people around us, friends, family, say as they get older, "I'm falling apart." And I really thought that was just the inevitable consequence of aging. As we get older, parts break down, things hurt, we develop diseases, and the role of the doctor is to diagnose and manage those diseases so they don't end up causing a greater degree of disability or early death. I simply that day asked a question of my patient. I said, "What is falling apart? What does it mean to you?" And she answered me in a way that I was not prepared for. She said, "Dr. Stoll, falling apart means to me that my marriage is falling apart because my husband is very tired taking care of me. Because my care demands a lot of his time. Our finances are falling apart because of the donut hole in Medicare. I can't travel to see my grandchildren because the flight is 5 hours long. Because of the pain, I can't sit in church and attend those activities. I'm depressed and I don't have friends." And then she said, "Can you help me?" And it was in that moment, there was a long pause, that I realized I had not been prepared to actually help somebody restore their quality of life. I didn't even know if it was possible. And I further asked myself questions. Where does disease come from? What is the cause for many of these common diseases that we see in our neighborhoods, our churches, our community groups, or in our own families? What is the origin? And can they actually be reversed? If you can discover the root and pull out the root, perhaps the body can actually regenerate. And that's exactly what I discovered in my research. The body has a greater power to regenerate itself than I ever imagined possible. And still to this day, more than 20 years later, I am surprised at how quickly some bodies regenerate when they're given the right opportunity, the right nutrition, and the right rest opportunities to begin regenerating. In just days, the body can begin to bounce back from decades of unhealthy choices. So we have this regenerative capacity inside of our bodies, and it also exists inside of biologic systems. And so that's the good news, and maybe a hope-filled message that I hope you take away today, is that every biologic system, when it's given the right opportunity, can bounce back, including the earth. Today, I'd just like to take you on a bit of a journey that is my own personal journey of discovering the power of especially nutrition and lifestyle to restore that resiliency and balance inside of our bodies that leads to regeneration, healing, and a restoration of our quality of life. I think it's important as a reminder for all of us that the natural state of the body is health, and disease is acquired because of our environment and some of the choices that are presented to us in our environment. But your body is truly amazing. And sometimes we don't remember how incredible our bodies really are. Your body has, including the bacteria in your body, more than 100 trillion cells, perform 37,000 billion chemical reactions per second. That's a lot of activity that you don't have to think about. Every second, you replace 3.8 million cells, and 200 types of cells get generally replaced in 7 to 10 years. Doesn't mean that we have the same cells that we did when we were 10 and have 10-year-old cells, but our body is constantly in a state of repairing and replenishing. Your heart beats 35 million times per year, pumping blood through 60,000 miles of blood vessels that are maintained a lot better than the roads in our cities. And it reaches 40,000 million individual blood vessels. In 1 minute, there's 60 million chemical reactions that take place to create 120,000 different proteins. And those proteins are read from blueprints on the DNA. The blueprints are carried to a ribosome where it is read, interpreted, and the machinery begins building proteins that go out and do all kinds of things in our body in every minute of the day. And all of this is coordinated by 100 billion neurons in your brain and 100 trillion connections or synapses in your brain. And the beautiful thing is that all of this is transpiring while we are living our lives, pursuing the things we love, enjoying a beautiful sunshiny blue day like we have here in Nashville today, playing games, listening to music, engaging with people. Your body is designed to allow you to interface with life and you don't have to think about it. And as you all know, the lifestyle choices that we make on a daily basis empower, enable, and equip these transactions and cells to work, or it begins undermining and eroding those resources, beginning to deplete these cellular reactions so that it makes it more difficult for us to interface in life. So this all tells us that we harvest from the habit seeds that we plant on a daily basis. Our bodies really are like the soil. And every day we plant seeds from the habit choices that we're making. What we eat, how much we sleep, how we decide to move and stretch our bodies, how we deal with stress, mitigating or allowing stress to ramp up our system, love and community, and then the habits that may be unhealthy that we're also making choices of, tobacco, alcohol, etc. Those little seeds are always planted in the soil, and some of them take longer than others to see the effects. And that's one of the dangers of an unhealthy lifestyle, is that you can plant unhealthy seeds and they may take years to begin germinating and sprouting. And so you feel like you're okay. Those choices did not have an immediate impact, but eventually there's a harvest from those habit seeds. And the harvest may come up as diabetes, as heart disease, as autoimmune disease. Any of those host of diseases, including cancer, can present itself. And we know that it didn't just happen, but this was a process from seeds that were planted, the germination of a disease, the perpetuation of the unhealthy habits, that's the watering, and the growth of these unhealthy seeds. But in the same way, we can plant seeds of health by making those lifestyle choices. And you discover that that harvest happens a lot more quickly than the disease harvest. This is what we see even in the health immersions that I do for corporations, where 100 people spend a week with us. And in just a week, their bodies rebound to health, more vibrancy, more energy, reduced pain, discontinuation of medications. In just a week, their bodies bounce back. The body is ready to regenerate itself with the right planting of the right seeds. And where does all of this begin? So certainly our habits are important, right? And we all have heard this statement, you are what you, and immediately I think you're probably thinking, eat. And that is so true. Food is still one of the foundations, the cornerstones of vibrancy and health, disease reversal, disease prevention, disease suspension. It really is food. Food is the most important component. But what is driving our food choices? It's what we think, believe, and say. So yes, food is critical, but so much of our food choices really begin at a level above that. It's what we've been trained to think about food. It's what we believe about food in our relationship. It's how we speak about ourselves, inside and outside. And also important, and I'll weave this through the entire presentation, community is the secret sauce of a healthy lifestyle. When we think about the blue zones, yes, they have largely a plant-based diet. They eat a cup of beans every single day. They're active. They have loving relationships. They are getting a good night's sleep. They don't have a lot of stress. But the real secret of the blue zones is that it's a community. And people don't even really have to think about the choices that they're making because it's how the community lives. And we know from the research that you are the sum total of your closest friends, including your microbiome. Your microbiome becomes, over time, like the 5 to 10 people closest to you. In a study, 2023 in Honduras, they found that the more central people were inside of a community, the more alike their microbiomes became. The more peripheral they lived outside of a community, the more different their microbiomes became. So we really are the sum total of our friends, even down to the bacteria types and the populations inside of our gut. But we also become like our friends in the way we think about food and even modulate the amount of food we eat. In another study, they looked at individuals eating together, and they found that because of a process called mirroring, we don't listen to our own cues about how much we eat. We watch the cues of the other person. And despite having a commitment to eating less, individuals that were eating with someone else naturally ate as much as the other person did. So if we're eating with people that eat more or eat more unhealthy, we're naturally drawn to do the same. So one of the secret sauces of really being healthy long-term is to develop a healthy community around yourself. Yes, engaging with other people, but there's a close-knit community of people that you're regularly engaging in that can inspire you, that can empower you, support you, hold you accountable, share ideas and recipes, and bring you along in a natural flow along the river of health. Now, kind of at the outset, as we talk about food, I always like to remove guilt and shame around the idea of lifestyle choices. This is Maya Angelou, and I love this statement. She said, "I did then what I knew how to do, but now that I know better, I do better." And so for all of us, we grew up in a culture that is unhealthy. We grew up in a fast food culture. We grew up in a culture that promotes sugar and sugar-sweetened beverages. We grew up in a culture where ultra-processed food is normal, and the average person eats 63% of their calories from ultra-processed food. We grew up in a culture where it's normal to sit in front of a screen for hours every single day. We grew up in a culture where it's normal to be stressed and work long hours. And so we all became enculturated by the environment that is around us. And we made the choices that other people were making because that's what communities do. But now that you're learning something new, because you're attending this amazing conference, The Real Truth About Health, you're learning to know better. And when we know better, it makes it much easier to do better. So if guilt or shame ever start to slip in, and this also applies to us in that way that we interact with other people. We just simply say, I did then what I knew how to do, but now that I know better, I'm doing better. And the same for other people that are making different choices. Perhaps they just don't know yet, or they're not ready to make the choice to do better. I'd like to just share with you a brief story of a friend of mine. This is Marcy Madrid and her husband, Carlos. And Marcy is a vice president at Midland Health in Midland, Texas. And Marcy is a mother of 6 children, a busy executive at the hospital, and her husband owns his own business. In 2014, Marcy was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. She went through the normal medical care, tried the medications, but had a number of side effects from the medications, and found herself slowly losing her quality of life, again, falling apart, to the point where she was barely making it through the workday, coming home in the evening, collapsing on the couch. And her husband, Carlos, had to pick up the remainder of the work activities, taking care of the children, doing laundry, dropping the kids off, making meals. And they were desperate because healthcare didn't have an answer. She was referred to see a specialist in Dallas, Texas, that deals with multiple sclerosis. The appointment was set for June of 2016. In 2015, I had a conversation with Marcy about lifestyle and transforming her diet. And it was the only option that she had. So she did. she made an amazing radical transformation of her diet. Again, she wasn't able to exercise, and she worked on some stress management, but she changed her diet, removed stress, and she saw a radical transformation of her health. These are two pictures of her MRI. On your left is the MRI that shows the spinal cord here inside of the red circle. To the front of that is the spine, and to the back is the back of the spine or the skin of the back of the neck. And we can notice inside of the spinal cord, it's very white and patchy. And that is evidence of inflammation inside the spinal cord, which was contributing to her symptoms of tingling, numbness, diffuse weakness, and fatigue. 6 months later, again, we see inside of the red circle, her spinal cord has the same dark appearance. All of the inflammation had completely resolved in just 6 months on a healthy transformation diet. Again, here's a picture of her brain, and inside of the red circle, we see a white lesion. That's an inflammatory lesion in the brain. 6 months later, that inflammatory lesion has resolved. An amazing transformation. The doctor in Dallas, Texas, was shocked and could not believe that this had happened. He had never seen someone go into remission through a dietary intervention. And because of Marcy's case, this doctor in Dallas, began to change the way that he managed his patients, even doing research looking at the power of plant-based nutrition and lifestyle to suspend multiple sclerosis and send it into remission. So Marcy's life not only changed her life, but her experience began to shift the doctor in Dallas, Texas. It impacted her family. Here's children now that mom could be fully present for. This is why I love what we're doing, lifestyle medicine and nutrition, because it gives people their life back, the quality of life that is so important. Mom is now vibrantly alive and present and available for her family. Marcy started a not-for-profit in Midland, Texas called Healthy City that hosted a number of activities, including a large conference with more than 700 people that came annually to learn about the power of plant-based nutrition and the power of the plate. So we can begin to see the regenerative opportunity for changing what's on our plate. Not only did it reverse the condition, not only did it resolve the inflammation inside of her spinal cord and her brain, not only did it improve her quality of life and return energy and vitality, it changed her relationship with her husband. It improved her opportunity to be mom for her children. It changed the hospital system as she began to share with doctors and start programs inside of the hospital. And it changed her community, even hosting an annual conference.